And so because we have new faces, I want to make sure that we go over, there's just basic, like our only hard rules are to not speak over each other and to speak in a neighborly way. Because what we are doing here is discussing issues, and we're really lucky if we have a hard set idea and there's someone that disagrees with us, if we can talk about the reasons why, then we can both learn from that. So that's what we're gonna remember how to do as people. It hasn't been used very much in the recent history, but we're doing that here. So we don't speak over each other, and that's also because the audio. So I record these and I put them up on the Voices of Union County YouTube channel for the citizens that aren't able to come, so that they can hear what's going on. And so if you talk over each other, then they're not going to hear any of what you're saying anyway. I film just in case anyone gets out of hand, it's there. It's like, I will not use that though, unless you are naughty. So hopefully we won't need that, okay? That's the only reason that's there. I will delete the video and just use the audio, because to me, we all shop at the same grocery store, and it's really important that we feel free to share our minds and not be worried about what people are gonna think about it. So that's that. Also, yeah, I think that's it. We have a lot going on right now and a lot to cover, more than what I put on the agenda. Other things have come up, and so I'm gonna do my best to move it along, which really means I'm going to hold myself back from talking too much. So that's my goal, okay? But we are gonna get started with, we're actually gonna, okay. So also I wanna say, for those that don't usually come, what's really, really interesting about this meeting is that I am a really curious person, and I'm aware when something doesn't sound right, and then I cannot stop until I figure out what's really going on. So I have learned who knows the answers to things. It's not me. I'm not the expert on these things, but I've collected a lot of friends that are really, really smart in a lot of different ways. And so at this meeting, if you have a question about something, feel free to ask, because someone in this room is probably gonna know the answer. That's the whole point, okay? And then we know what we're doing, and then we know what to say when we go to county meetings or to wherever we'll be informed and be able to ask questions. One thing that I did not get on the agenda is, and I only realized that this was important when talking with Cindy about the very long list of meetings, civics meetings that we have this month. There were multiple called meetings, and they're all about setting the millage rate, and that's a big deal. So that didn't make it onto the agenda. And my friend, who is a mathematician that can also communicate clearly at the same time, it's really amazing how he can do both. He let me record him over the phone yesterday, so I have my computer and I'm gonna play that audio when we get to that point. But just so that's gonna be added in, the millage rate meetings. So that way, because these are called meetings to set the millage rate, and we need to know what it means before we go, or else, I mean, what's the point? How can we hold our representatives accountable if we don't even know what is going on? We just can't. Okay, so let's get started with, I wanna actually start with eminent domain. The only reason I put that on the agenda is because I hear people talking about it. I've been hearing people talk about it for a while, scattered here and there. I know a woman that has property that's backed up to national, I don't remember actually, national forest or what it is, but she was having issues with eminent domain things. There are some eminent domain issues going on right now, and then reading in the paper a couple of months ago, I was reading about how the expansion of the airport runway. It took me a few minutes to remember that word in conversation the other day, and I was counting on you to help me with that. But in the expansion of the runway, that could involve eminent domain, so I just wanted to splash our feet on that topic so that if anyone has anything they want to share about that, they can, or also so that we can get ourselves thinking about it so that we can follow up next time on that. So just a brief thing, and I'm excited that Diana's here because you know what this means, and I'm hoping you can share for us what eminent domain even means.
I have a small amount of knowledge.
That's perfect.
Very small amount of knowledge. I can send you to where you can get a little bit more knowledge too, if that helps out a whole lot. I'm gonna hobble up here for just a second. There are a couple titles in Georgia that have most of the information for eminent domain, and one of them is Title 22 and Title 36, and they give you kind of all the what-tos and everything, and I'm not going to go into all of it, but there's a few little things that you can do. The property needs to be for public use, and we found here in the county there's some issues that are working right now where the county has put feelers out to impose eminent domain on private property, which that's the way it's supposed to be imposed on, but it's for like a road that goes to nowhere. That would really not be considered for public use, but our county kind of sometimes tweaks the information a little bit. So those are some of the issues that I've been working on, because there is a property out right now that has been suggested that people don't want to give up a part of their property for an easement, and the county has been looking into eminent domain, but the road absolutely goes nowhere, so it's really not for public use. It's for the use of about 14 neighbors in the neighborhood, and for the property owners don't want to give up their right-of-way to have that road paved. So there's a little bit of a thing going on there. But it's supposed to be for public use, which would more or less be like, say you wanted to have a park, and you had a park and you needed the roadway to go to that park, that would be considered eminent domain, because it's going to be for public use, for everyone's use. Yes, ma'am?
So if they want to expand the airport runway and take people's property to make a bigger airport,
They could use that for eminent domain, yes ma'am. Yeah, that is one of the areas that it could be, because they would consider that for public use. So that is one of them. But check out, like I say, Title 22 and Title 36, they both kind of work hand in hand, and that'll give you a little bit more information. There is, on just the law, there's a few things here. Is there a way around eminent domain? There's a couple things. The property being taken must be private property, so they can't take business property. It must be private property. The authority taking the property must be a government entity, and here's the kicker on some of it, or a private company working for the authority of the government. So like a utility company. That type of thing. So a water company could use eminent domain to take a piece of property for those type of things. So utility companies would be one of the big ones that would be, able to enforce the eminent domain. And the property must be a genuine necessity to the public use project. So that would rule out some of these county roads that they want to take eminent domain on that don't really go anywhere other to private property. And the property owner must be paid just compensation. So you are supposed to be paid just compensation. And along with the just compensation is, say you give up part of your property and it diminishes the value of the rest of the property, you are supposed to get reimbursed for that diminishment also. So if you have a 10-acre parcel and they take 3 acres and you have a farm on it, and it maybe reduces your farm down, and the profitability of that property gets reduced, you should be able to get just compensation for that. So that's another key that a lot of people probably don't realize, that you can ask for just compensation on that. And there's a couple other things, and one of the things is, if they take your property as eminent domain, they have to use it for public use, okay? So they can't then just turn around, take it from you and sell it.
Within 5 years, if they don't use it for the public use, say the airport, for instance, if they take a piece of your property and in 5 years they don't create that runway on your property or whatever they're planning to do on it, you can actually petition to have that property come back to you. And then after 20 years, you can actually petition again. It should automatically come back to you if it's not used in 20 years. And then the government agency that takes it has to use it within 20 years, or it just comes right back to you. So those are some of the things that I found out as I was doing the research. I'm not an expert on it at all. I just, it was brought to my attention and I've been doing a little bit of research on it, but you know, so I probably can't answer a lot of questions, but I'll be glad to try to if anybody has any questions. Yes, sir.
Well, don't they have to show just cause for wanting that property in the first place? I mean, like, somebody just comes up and goes, oh, I want to put a park over here. Do we really need a park, or, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, I mean, it would be one of those things that they'd have to probably have the plans and say, here's where we're gonna go with the park, and we need that. That's gonna be kind of one of those probably gray areas, you know, that you're gonna run into, you know. The city may be, or the county may be pre-planning down the road and decide, okay, before we can go much further with this plan, we need to have this, you know, this road or this right of way or whatever. So I think that would be more like with a little bit of a gray area. Anything else? That's all I have. Yes, sir.
I do have a question about, so if you refused to give them the land, they offer you compensation and you keep refusing, they literally can just take it.
Right. Yeah.
You can, there's in here, there's ways that you can go down the steps. Georgia law has steps that they have to go through where you can go in to negotiate price, that type of thing.
Okay.
But yeah,
They're
but
gonna
even
take
if they do take it, they still have to pay you just compensation. They just can't take it from you without paying just compensation.
And this may be beyond what you're into, but do you know where they get that value from?
I would assume an appraisal, but you know, I don't know positively. Yes, sir.
3 appraisals.
3 appraisals,
Three
okay, all right,
appraisals.
great, all right. All right, that's all I have.
I told you, I collect intelligent friends. Yes, thank you. All right, and the little bit she didn't have, he did. See, that's how this works. If we all show up, we all know stuff. It's really, really neat how that happens. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about what's going on with the Board of Elections. We have 2 diligent citizens that have been paying attention for a long time with our, well, 3. Yeah, I forgot. But today Marcia and Lori are going to share their stories about what they've been experiencing, and I want to briefly run through it and tell me if I'm wrong about my timeline and things that have happened. And we're just only focusing on the election we just had, because that is something tangible we can touch and see right now, or we should be able to, had the ballots not been erased. So,
Excuse me?
Oh.
yes. So, okay. So in June, I attended a meeting. That was my first Board of Elections meeting that I went to, and the 3 of us were there. And you both had talked about how you had put in records requests that had not been fulfilled. And Libby was saying, oh, I think I did, but maybe I didn't, and it was this long thing. And then we had a long conversation with the board. So the Board of Electors, you have 2 GOP people, 2 Democrat people, and then I guess that would be RNC. I don't know, I don't use that acronym, that's weird. And then you have the chairperson who is appointed by the sole commissioner. And so what I found interesting was, so we were talking with them about doing a hand count so that we could make sure everything was on the up and up, since things were looking weird with the records requests. And I found it interesting that the GOP members were acting like they were entertaining that idea, but they were trying to talk us out of it until we said, no, let's go ahead and do it. And then they instantly were like, well, we don't have to unless the Secretary of State says we have to. Like, okay, well, that was a fun hour of discussion. And then we had a GOP meeting right after that where the room full of citizens basically stood up in unison. I mean, the conversation throughout the whole room toward the 2 GOP members of the Board of Elections was that we want a hand count. And so they're supposed to be representing that group of people, and they did again, well, you're not gonna get what you want, we're not gonna do it. And then,
Oh my God.
and then the next, that's just the beginning. Okay, and then
Calm down.
the next, they immediately after that canceled the next 2 meetings, Board of Elections meetings, we thought. So then Lori and did you send in a verbally?
They did it verbally at the meeting.
Let's get straight.
Okay, okay.
June 8th was the meeting that we went to, that she talked about originally. They still had the paper ballots right there in that office that day.
Yeah, in
And
June.
denied us the ability to have those paper counted. And then they automatically threw it over to Judy Odom, who is the Superior Court clerk. So we couldn't get them, okay? So we couldn't have them. So then that July meeting, they canceled July and August, okay? Well, I did.
Well, hold on, wait, no, hold on. Because Lori requested to be on the agenda.
Yes, she did.
for
but
July.
She didn't do it professionally, okay?
Well, they sent an email, because I have that email.
I did
Right.
email.
She sent an email requesting to be on the
Libby
agenda.
only.
To Libby Stevens,
Libby never
who's the chair.
responded to Lori.
So then Libby did respond to Lori and said, no, that meeting is canceled for July.
July and August are canceled due to COVID exposure.
She never responded back to her at all, just said, no, it's canceled.
Well, no, so we had a back and forth. And it was left in my mind that, oh, we're not going to have it. And then they went ahead and had it.
Yeah, they had it anyway, and
Okay,
Marcia happened to
this is
show
what
up.
I want to explain to you. I did an ORR, an open record request, and I sent it to the official Union County election email to every one of the board, all 5 of them. And they did not respond to me either. Okay, but I said, okay, I will be there at the July meeting with my request. And so what? They didn't tell anybody anything, okay? But they had a cop there.
They had
First
Deputy Dyer
time
was
ever
there.
I had a cop right there.
Mhm.
But I had my meeting, and she gave me, oh, I don't have any ballot images.
In that meeting, she admitted
Yes,
that
she
they
did.
never
Wait a minute,
recorded
wait a minute, let me finish it. But it's, to my knowledge, they have more than one. Is that not right, Dean?
That's right.
They have more than one set of ballot images. So she basically lied out her behind.
There's
Or-
4 backups on the system.
Okay, so either
2
they
of them.
lied, or she's telling the truth, and either way, isn't it by law that you have to keep
No
those
way.
ballot images?
Yes,
Yeah, so that's a major issue.
that's maladministration if she's illegal.
Of our election, which is huge. And thanks to Marcia, I have a recording of that meeting, thank you.
I have a recording of that one and the next meeting, which was where I requested the ballot images for 2020 election, which Libby Stevens said, oh, I have those. Well, I get there and all she got is the absentee ballot. So here I am. The only way to get all this information is to go through Judy Odom, the Superior Court clerk, and do an ORR for her to get copies of the ballots. Which does not require a court order.
Yeah.
And she told me, oh, well, it'll take 30 to 45 days to determine what I can do with that.
That was August 3rd. That
Pardon me?
you put that in August 3rd. Your open records request to Judy.
Oh, it's
Oh,
almost
yeah.
up.
So it's been,
What I did was I sent it to Judy Odom. I sent it to Superior Court Judge Levine, Superior Court Judge George and Superior Court Justice Mark. I physically had to take those two lead judges to make sure they had them. But let me tell you, there's no guarantee I'm gonna get anything.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I'm out there working for us,
Uh-huh.
for me, you, and this whole county.
And we can support you by attending, there is a Board of Elections meeting, it's at 3 p.m. So anyone that can make that, it's on September 14th. And they're the second Wednesday of every month. So September 14th at 3 p.m. because people don't attend those meetings. And we need to be attending all of the meetings because otherwise, for one, just assuming everything is on the up and up, how can our representatives know what we want if we don't even know what's going on, first of all? But second of all, when you show up, they know that people are actually watching now. The fact that, regardless of intention, the fact that our ballot images were not, she says that they were never recorded.
That's impossible.
Right, but even assuming that that's not, and she's actually telling the truth, that is against the law.
Yeah.
And it looks like we might need a new chairperson.
Well, the way the
I have
machine
one more
works,
thing to say.
Hold on.
the way the machines work is you pick your vote on the BMD. It prints out a piece of paper. You walk it over to the scanner and the scanner scans it in. That's not recording your vote at that time. When the software analyzes the image, it decides what you voted and how you voted, and then it casts the vote from that image. So without the image, there's no vote.
So I have one more thing to say.
Okay, hold on just a moment. Oh wait, actually, hold on, she had her hand up and I just want to see.
Just, the board meeting is being held where?
Oh, okay, it is at, it is
Here.
76 feet, no, don't do those, these are,
Anybody else want this?
Yeah.
these are better. Yeah,
isn't it
Tells you
76
where
Hunt
it is.
Martin Street?
76
What
feet,
time it is?
Martin Street.
Okay, so it's 76B Hunt Martin Street, and if you're like me, you're gonna pull up and be really confused. It's in
Is
the
that the
back
old hospital
parking
road?
lot. What?
That's the old hospital road.
Yes, it is.
And it's in the back parking lot, so you park in the back parking lot and go in through the back. That's the entrance to the meeting, okay? Yeah, and we need to go and get answers. And figure out what we're supposed to do now.
Can you just repeat about what the two GOP representatives, what their response was again?
Their response was, okay, so Linda Hill, specifically was the one that was doing the most interacting on that at both meetings, the GOP meeting and the June meeting where I was at. And she kept saying, we can do that, and we're happy to do that, but I don't think you're gonna get what you're looking for. And she repeated that over and over and over again. And we're like, okay, well then let's do it. And then she instantly says, we don't have to unless we're
Required by the SOS.
yeah, the SOS is the Secretary of
So
State.
they were not willing.
Or ordered by a judge.
To
Yep.
listen to the citizens.
Okay, yes,
and-
so yeah, tell us the rest.
Now, bear in mind that we're talking about the Board of Elections, okay? We have an audio where she admits she doesn't have it.
Mhm.
So I took it to Dr. Jeff Langley, our DA.
Mm.
That's exactly right, nothing.
Didn't he just have an article in the paper talking about how he doesn't get involved in politics?
Let's not even go there.
Oh.
Well, no, that's really important, because from my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I collect all these smart friends because I want to learn stuff, it's not because I already know all the stuff. From my understanding, he's the only one that can prosecute these people. Right, so I have him on film telling me personally, when I handed him evidence of crimes, he said, I don't get involved in politics. And now he said it in the paper. So this is really important stuff, because these are our elected officials, but our elected officials swore an oath to us. They swore 2 oaths. They swore an oath to maintain, to support the constitutions. That is the most important one. So when I'm seeing our elected officials not upholding the Constitution, then I can no longer see them as elected officials. I now at this point see them as people that are stealing a seat from a rightful citizen and taking our tax money to do it while leaving us without the assistance that we're paying them for. Am I wrong about that?
No.
Okay. Just, we need to talk about these things, because this is how it keeps going on. Langley's gonna listen to this later. I went to you, man, I gave you a chance. I tried really hard. Okay.
He's gonna listen to this, why?
I put these
He's
up on
gonna
the
put it on,
YouTube
he's gonna
channel.
look on YouTube?
Yes, so I have a YouTube channel called Voices of Union County, where I go to all of these dreadfully boring meetings. I do. And I film them, and then I upload them for you guys. So watch it, please. Don't make it
And you
me
think
for
he
nothing.
watches it? I mean, you're pretty sure he watches it?
Yes. I don't know that. No, I don't know that. I know that people that are not enjoying the fact that I record the videos do watch them though. So.
Audio.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second.
I do know that, because they had Lamar for an interview on Talk of the Mountains this morning.
Oh, yeah?
And, I do know, and even on the short-term vacation rentals and on the different private groups for Blairsville, Lamar monitors those. And when somebody sees something they want Lamar to see, they'll say Lamar Parish, because then that'll clue him to look at that.
Mm.
So he does watch all this stuff.
Mhm.
And I know that they were talking about you being an activist or something.
Right. Right.
Because there was an interview with you, but they're referring to this group now as an activist group.
Right,
or
so let's
something.
clarify that. So there is no group called Voices of Union County, by the way. So the radio put out a news blast yesterday saying the activist group Voices of Union County is holding what they bill as a town hall meeting. There's a lot of words there that are unnecessary because Voices of Union County is a YouTube channel and it is run by only me. So there's only me. There's no group. Don't think this is activism. We're just getting together and holding a place for the citizens to discuss. I mean, I'm not out there on the streets like having major things. I'm not doing all that. Yes.
What radio?
95.1.
95.1.
Yeah.
It's called Talk of the Mountains.
Is it KGRB? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
95.1, Talk of the Mountains.
I pretty
Yeah,
much
it's in the
keep
morning,
that
yeah.
station on
Do
my
we need
cell
our own
phone.
voices
That's the only
on the
station
radio?
I can listen to,
Do we
right?
what?
Do we need our own voice on the radio?
That would be great. You
Good.
know, there are so many things
I'll talk to my friend.
I sit and I dream about all the things I would love to see, just for the, like, I didn't know that this is what I would nerd out on at this phase of my life. But I dream about, I would love to have a town hall meeting in every district by the season, you know, quarterly, so that the citizens can do this and figure it out, so that they can send a representative to make sure that the commissioner's, you know, representing them. And also getting used to the idea that we're the people, we the people. But also I really want to see a public TV. That would be great. Somewhere where, cause it seems like the only voices that get out there are on the radio or in the newspaper, and those are both very controlled. Hold on, cause I have one more dream I really wanna say out loud so I can just like plant that seed, okay? Cause like I'm gonna hurt in my cheeks, I'm gonna smile so big when I say this, and it's so nerdy, but I would love to see a twice-a-year petition week where the citizens can figure out what it is they want to have on their ballots. Everyone shows up and signs whatever petition they're for or against, or not against, but they just sign what they want, and then we could take control over what's going on our ballots. Like, this is the stuff I sit at home and I think about. How fantastic would that be? Radio station, I think a public access channel would be fantastic. I mean, we don't have that, do we? I don't know. I don't really do TV, so. But, you know, having people get up and then they have a voice. And even on social media, it's so
Well, we don't
controlled.
have that because we don't have cable anymore.
Right. Okay, so we need to figure something out. I do have Voices of Union County. It's called that because, well, most people don't even know it exists, so I'm building it up, but it's to interview people. And I leave off faces, I leave off names if necessary. You know, I wanna protect everyone, that's why I'm gonna get rid of the video and just do the audio. but so that people can tell their stories, because that's really, really important. There's so many stories out there that get silenced.
So are you thinking more of a podcast?
So go to the channel and see. I am in the process of recording my 4th episode of my Citizen News report. My 3rd one got erased from YouTube, erased it.
Sure.
But I'm working on it. I'm building this thing.
Well, because, I mean, if you did more of a podcast format instead of like just a recording, because people tend to not pay attention to just,
You mean the video, like just to listen to it?
like, yeah, if you had like, anyways, now I'm getting.
Yeah, okay, so
Now I'm getting images and wishes.
I love co-creating, so yes.
Okay,
talk
here,
with
I'll
me
just
about-
drop it, but yeah.
Talk with me about any of that. I
Yeah.
have business cards for that. I've got a website I'm working on building, but I haven't yet. So the business card has the website on there and it does not exist yet. But my email address is on there and you can always email me any story. If you want to do an over the phone interview, I can do that. You can even just type up something and I'll read it. Any way that you want to get a story out there and feel the need to protect yourself in the process or don't is that's what it's there for. But I just totally got off topic. So let's go ahead and take this now to freedom of speech
No, wait a
violation.
minute,
Okay,
we
yes.
are not finished.
Oh, okay.
We
Okay,
still
sorry.
have- We still have more to do on that election
Okay, yes.
integrity. One thing I wanted to mention was poll watching.
Right.
Oh,
Who in here has already taken the classes, curiously?
Okay,
Okay, so there's a lot, okay, great.
but the thing of it is that we had poll watchers every day except day of election.
Mm.
They did not even add any of us to come
Excuse
to
me,
poll
they,
watch.
yes, they did. Marcia, they did. I got an email from Linda.
But she didn't, make it prom though, okay? I'm telling you that right now, okay? She might have said that once, maybe twice, but she
About
didn't-
election day
she
specifically?
didn't push it. But what we would like to do is have poll watching.
So we have a class to set up.
You go ahead and tell them.
The GOP, there's GOP training and there's also the Constitution Party trains as well, with Ricardo, his last name, and Garland Favorito. And, they are coming to Blairsville and they will do a poll watcher training class on September 24th, Saturday at 2 p.m.
That sounds good.
We're gonna wear it here.
So we're working on getting it here, and so if you are interested, I guess I need a sign-up sheet, and spread the word. We've got to really, so this is not just for Union County, we've got our neighbor towns, and we've got our Fannin County, and whoever wants to come. And Garland will be here. He's with Voter GA. He's been in election, all this stuff for, I don't
The
know,
front line.
20
Election
years.
integrity.
Yeah.
He's with Voter GA. So he is actually going to come, and after we have an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes of training, then he will speak to us and answer your questions. So that's just really amazing.
Yeah,
So
I want on
that's
that list.
September 24th.
If you want to, we would like to get you an email so that we can verify this for, Favorino, because, we need more than 10 people
Yeah.
to come to these poll meetings.
What time?
And, if we can get your email, we'll email you with all the information.
Yeah, before you leave, I'll pass the sheet out.
Excuse me. Pardon me for being.
That okay with
ignorant.
everybody?
No, that's.
I mean,
So you're just gonna pass the sheet out, just to be clear?
I'm sorry?
You're gonna pass the sign up and we put,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My wife and I, it was the first time here. We always talked about getting involved in that and didn't do it. We've been over the road truckers for 45 years, and so we just weren't around to be able to do this stuff. We're always going, you know. I'm tired now. And like that movie, you know, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not gonna take this anymore. I'm sick of what's going on.
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of people gas station, Walmart, whatever, and it seems like they all feel the same way. And so I was gonna suggest that maybe we all try and, next meeting, drag somebody with us, try and.
Yes.
I think everybody can bring one person, okay, and then the next time they can bring another. But what I was gonna ask you about this election deal, if what he said is, you take your vote, you go put it in the machine, it sucks it in there, and then it decides if it's gonna stick it in some computer someplace, you could have 100 poll watchers, but what goes inside that machine?
We can't see.
It's
what's
a black
inside the
box.
machine.
Exactly.
You don't
So-
know. But there's other rigs other than that,
Mm-hmm.
that you can't see.
The rig of the two GOPs not being open to, that to me was shocking.
Me too.
Because of my
Yeah,
experience,
Yeah,
but
there's a
that was
number of
shocking.
different rigs.
And I feel like I've seen you at those meetings before. I feel like there was a meeting a couple years ago, and one of my biggest things, and whatever party you're from, it doesn't, I don't know if this is a mixed bag here or what, but my thing was that, you know, I mean, all back 2 years ago when I was involved in the GOP meetings and things like that, is, you know, what is, like, I'm very interested in the history, in the political history of this county. I'm not from here, was not born here, but I've been here for about 13 years. Anyway, so, you know, I feel like I saw you at a meeting and you were kind of like, well, why aren't we counting? Why aren't we counting? And one of the answers that I was so disappointed in was, well, why should we have to count here? It's
Right.
it's a lockdown. I mean, we should know that it's no problem. Why should we have to count? And people were demanding, how do they get involved? And there was nothing.
We
There was no, and I said, you know, is there a website that they can go to and maybe get involved? And there was nothing.
So that was my first experience.
I feel like I saw you there.
Last GOP meeting, I went to one at the Civic Center, and I
That was
said,
it.
I want a forensic audit, and.
That was you.
Betty from,
Yep.
town said, oh, there's no fraud
I
here.
totally remember
Everybody
you.
said, there's no fraud here,
Yep.
and so the 5 quick points, and where are we? I just keep
And
learning,
that really
I just
affected
keep
me,
learning.
and I stepped down and away from that group.
Mhm. So there are only
Interesting.
61 days to the November election. I believe that we need to demand paper ballots and hand counting of the November 3rd election. I know that sounds pie in the sky, but the county commissioner has that authority to say we're going to use paper ballots or we're not going to use machines. He can do that. Also, the Board of Elections can do that too. They have that authority. So just to let you know, when somebody says, oh, well, I can't, yes, Garland said they can, so I believe him. And I don't have the laws in OCGA, but that's one thing.
Interesting.
DeKalb,
If they go to the meeting, Board of Elections, they can request it. If you go, enough of you go, we can request it from them. They're gonna deny you.
we're gonna hand
But
out
you have it on
papers.
record.
We
There's
can
emails
record
to
them.
all 5 Board of Election members. You email, I would recommend emailing them all. Maybe the county commissioners, no, that's open records only. To get on the agenda, I believe all you have to do is email them and request it. So I don't know whether, like the county commissioner meetings where you get on the agenda and it's in the minutes, and then he adjourns the meeting, and then questions don't ever get in minutes. So I would recommend get on the agenda, have a question, and get it in their minutes. The more people that start to do this, you know, 4 people, they're just gonna, they've laughed at us behind our backs, right? 4 people going in the meeting. So, you know about DeKalb. The DeKalb, they did a hand count in DeKalb County of the Democratic, race. And the 3rd person in line was actually,
First place.
first place. So there's proof that these machines don't work. That's just the background. We requested open records May 26, 2 days after the election. We're still unfulfilled on 2 parts, and that's a violation of OCGA something. And Garland requested all 159 counties, copies of the physical ballots, because from his work on the 2020 election, he realized that you could alter the digital ballot images. So he didn't ask for anything else but the copies of the physical ballots. He filed a lawsuit, I think in June, all 159 counties, because no county is giving these up. Why not? What do you have to hide?
Yeah.
So you can ask Langley. I have a copy of the lawsuit. It's just amazing. And then let's see that, and
Well, you said you can ask Langley what?
asking for a copy of the lawsuit. I mean, just
It's on VRBO.
I mean, yeah.
You can download
If
it.
you want, you don't have to.
Very easy to read, nothing to.
So I want,
And so I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, just to catch people up, and mainly, so moving forward, we gotta show up at the meeting, but what are we gonna ask? We've got to,
That's
November
the
3rd,
important plan, yeah.
yeah.
we
and
can get there a little bit early and chat in the parking lot too. Now, I have a lot of more things that I need to cover and we're running out of time.
That was perfect, thank
So,
you.
yes, I'm so glad that you got all of that out. I also want to say an idea that I had a week or two ago, something that would be really helpful, is the idea of email templates. So during the, I don't know if you saw the commissioner meeting about the short-term rentals. It was infuriating for me. It was in March, and I didn't handle myself very well. It was in May. Yes, I get to go back and watch these videos, and then I grow up as a person. I'm like, oh, I could have been a little bit cooler about that. But that one I was really upset about because there was an official announcement from the government Facebook page to someone showing him this public group about short-term rentals. And they officially said, we will look at this group. And then the very next day or 2 days later, 24 to 48 hours later, he had his commissioner meeting and went on and on and on about how it's just about noise. So we have this noise ordinance hearing coming up, and so that's what's come from that. But he didn't say anything about what was a bigger issue was the idea of corporations buying up all the houses for cash, 100,000 over asking price, making it to where we can't afford houses. Now our assessments go up. This is a really big deal. It's going around the whole country. And he said I was being ridiculous. Whatever, that doesn't matter. But what he did say was he's only gotten 2 phone calls about it, so it's not an issue if he's only gotten 2 phone calls.
And they were the same issue, basically, the same
Right.
person.
Right. So what that makes me think is that for all of these people, for all of our representatives and elected officials and people that are in these positions, if we could create email templates to email in, then there will be recorded documentation. So we have a citizen who I see as a personal hero because he got them to quit dumping the leachate water into Lake Notley. Yeah, and he's out of town right now, wealth of information. I love it when he just starts talking. But the reason why he was able to do that was because he kept writing letters. He kept writing letters, and then a newspaper saw those letters. I mean, they were there. They don't go away. So having documentation of all of these things is way better than us just complaining about it. I forget personally to contact them because I don't trust them. It's like, well, they don't even want to do anything about this. Why do I even try? But if we can get enough people sending in emails, that would be really powerful.
Well, what was the two people said they complained about the short-term rental? Or?
Noise issues. So now we have a noise ordinance coming up. A noise ordinance hearing. So that's something. So I'm
Or also maybe because he's now getting. There's a thing now where anybody who has a short-term rental has to file a business license with Union County now.
Okay, but here's something interesting.
So
90% of the money that comes from their taxes for that goes to the Chamber of Commerce. 90% of it doesn't come to the county. Just a little side note. These are the things you learn when you go to all of these boring meetings. It's not for nothing. Yes, you're right. Yeah. So that is something that's going on right now, actually, and in the last meeting or two, if you go onto the YouTube channel and go to the last town hall meetings, because there's a few of them on there now. Last month it was canceled because the county commissioner rescheduled for that same day, and we were all gonna be there. But the last two meetings, we talked extensively about the board that's been created to work on the ordinance for the short-term rentals. Because not only does she know stuff about eminent domain, but Diana
Yeah,
also knows.
I'll just make a quick thing
Okay.
on the short-term rentals. I'm on the board of the short-term rentals.
Smart friends.
We've been working on short-term rental, or the short-term rental ordinance for about 2.5 months, every Wednesday for 4 to 6 hours. It was supposed to be once a month, and so it's gone into a fairly intensive thing. We have a good portion of the ordinance done. We're looking at fines right now. There is a moratorium on short-term rentals. That started August the 16th, and it goes through January the 16th, which allows us enough time to get the ordinance written. It has to go to the lawyer for all the legal terms, and then it has to go to the commissioner for him to read it to see if he approves it. And then it will come back to the board again for us to take a final look at it. And then there'll be 3 readings of this short-term rental ordinance in public meetings. We're trying to set up right now so that we have one meeting that is open to the public, and it'll just be the board. There won't be, the lawyer might be there to answer legal questions, but the commissioner in most cases will not be there. So it will be an open chat meeting, so that you can honestly ask us any questions without being shut down. So
Thank you.
that's kind of what we're working on, so that we'll have that going on and that. So it's gonna be extensive. You know, I can give you little bits and pieces of it. It's not finalized, so I don't want to say a whole lot about it, because what I say may get changed in the
But the
meantime.
whole ordinance is basically what?
It's basically, it's rules and regulations for short-term rentals. There's always been a license that you're required to get if you rent your house for short-term. It's been here forever. Anything under 30 days is considered a short-term rental, and you were always supposed to get a business license to pay taxes on that rental. So that was a big scramble at the end, because a lot of people didn't realize that, and one of my suggestions, we sent it all out to the Board of Realtors, and then it was in the newspaper, but it was a very short little article in the newspaper. About 4 weeks ago, I suggested we start blasting it out on the newspaper a little bit more. And when we did, we actually got about 200 short-term rentals come in and apply for licenses. So right now, that's over. You can't get any license for a short-term rental. There probably will be fees and fines if you decide you want to get a license.
What do you mean you can't get a license?
You can't get a business license. You have to have a business license for a short-term rental.
Moratorium right now.
Okay, can I
Yeah.
ask
It's like
you
a
question?
freeze.
I'm sorry, and I know you have a lot to do, but this is really important
Yeah.
to me.
And I could talk, well, I can't stay real long, but
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
go ahead.
So what about the folks who didn't?
Didn't get one right at this particular point.
Mhm.
It's gonna, I can't answer that, because that's not gonna be up to us.
I mean, we've just gone through 3 years of people coming in and buying short-term rentals.
Right,
And you're saying that there's always been a business license that you've had to have
yes,
in
yeah,
Union County.
yes.
So
Union
why
County.
did the Board of Realtors not inform
That's where you have to
realtors?
go to
Because I'm a
your,
realtor.
yeah.
And so that's
Actually,
very
the
important.
Board of I
really
can
important.
tell you positively, the Board of Realtors was notified. And the Board of Realtors assured us they told all of
And this
the
was
brokers.
like 2 years ago?
No,
or-
this was, when we notified the Board of Realtors was 2 months ago, when we first started.
Oh, we all
this.
got
Yeah.
that.
It's all
Yeah.
recent.
But I'm wondering about the people from
You
2
know, I
months ago and
can't
back.
tell you back,
No.
because like I say, I don't know why the realtors didn't know that the county, almost every county requires some type of a license for short-term rentals, almost every county in the United States, because it's a business, and that's why, say if you go on Airbnb,
Well, that's what I was gonna say,
Yeah.
maybe they get it through these management companies like Airbnb.
but see, even with Airbnb, up until just recently, Airbnb collected state tax but didn't collect county tax, and you were still required to do county tax, which would have required you to have a county business license. And like I say, I can't tell you,
Sure, sure.
you know, what
I'm
happened.
very
there.
interested in this.
Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to interrupt a little.
Thank you.
I have
Marcia.
one thing to say about
That's
that.
interesting.
The short-term license is $10 a year.
Yeah.
That's what, one of the things they're working on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now, I do know from Mr. Paris, because I had a meeting with him about these short-term rentals.
Mhm.
He's working with several counties.
Mhm.
He's being proactive by getting, Diana over there and the rest of them to do this.
Mhm.
Because they don't want it to become like Raven County, which has all of this
Right.
stuff happening.
And I would hate to see the people who already purchased, like, get dinged or, you know, get a, what am I thinking of,
There's no more licenses until January. I don't even see what we're talking about on licenses, but.
The problem is,
retroactive.
I do know that they have a group of people who are scouring the internet for addresses advertised to rent it out for a vacation place that doesn't happen on these cross-referencing to see if they have a license, and that's how they're gonna catch it.
Yeah, and
Because a
it's-
lot of people will rent them out under the table and say they're letting their friends use it.
Yeah.
I have a neighbor doing that.
It's actually not a lot of people. What it is the county invested in a program, and it has bots. And we paid $40,000 for this program. It's gonna do a couple things. It's going to allow you, if you pay your taxes, to pay it online. It's gonna allow you to do new applications online, but it also has bots, and it goes out into all of the computer systems and the newspapers and realtors and all, so it just searches all over the place. So it's actually a computer program that's designed specifically for that, and a lot of counties use that.
And it'll bust these addresses.
You know, and
that
yeah, it
finds
sends a
that
list out.
advertise to rent it out.
Well, I need to move on. So we have covered only 2 topics that were actually on the agenda, and I have a couple more to go. That was really important, and that was really fascinating information. Thank you for the update. I had no idea about that bot situation. That's really cool. So we're gonna need to just sit down and have
I'm
like
gonna
a.
leave so I don't interrupt anymore.
No, but hey, I am so grateful. You had a long day, and I was planning
We'll
on
see you
just
guys
calling
later.
her
Thank you.
and letting her talk on speakerphone, and instead she came to share all that information. Is it,
no, I was just gonna say, so I know a young lady who's trying to buy a house here, and all the houses are being bought up for short-term rentals.
Right.
There's not any houses for residents anymore.
right, to rent
It's a
or to buy?
problem.
Yeah, it's a big issue, and it's around the whole country. And the real fear, a real issue is that if they're buying it in cash, then it's not like they're even gonna lose it if the market tanks, they already own it, and then they just sit empty. It's not good. So, yeah, and that is why we have a couple of meetings where we talked about that very in-depth. Yes,
The other side of that coin,
yes,
with all these rentals, brings in a lot of tourist money.
that's true.
And that benefits all the small businesses.
Yes,
I cannot survive without tourism.
that's true. But then also, like, I was just personally forced to buy the house I was renting because they were gonna sell it, and I had to pay for it way higher than it was worth
Yeah.
without negotiation. The house hasn't been updated since
Pick your
'94
poison.
Yeah,
because there was nowhere else to rent.
but the middle class kids that are, just starting
I came
up,
from
they
a
can't-
small town that got priced right out of, anybody that I knew that was, that had
Lived
kids,
there, yeah.
they couldn't afford to live there.
Yeah.
Now they're $500,000 homes,
Right,
and it was a farm community.
and that's what I've watched
The
happen here
politics changed.
my whole life.
I got basically told by the township committee that we're not gonna be able to hold power and you're gonna be out of business because they will force you out.
Who?
Robert.
Imagine people moving next door to you and then saying, we don't like your shop.
Right,
I've said, I've been here 17 years, and I said, be careful of who comes in and whose mouth is the loudest, because it never ends up well for the community.
right,
So whatever we wanna do, we need to look 20 years down the road.
that's true.
Yeah.
Because I watched a farm community turn into the suburbs of New York in 20 years.
That's what's
Really?
happening.
Where would
Yes.
What's happening?
This was in New Jersey.
Mhm.
This is
Okay.
And I
happening.
fight
What
like hell
used to
against
be-
people that are talking online. You know who I am.
Who, me?
You probably do.
Do I?
Yeah, you see me, I argue pretty hard online.
I know exactly who you are. Okay, so,
Let me,
Who are you?
in my defense, I enjoy rubbing it.
yeah. I figured, I didn't, yes, I'm aware.
He hates me and he hasn't met me yet.
I got that whole thing. You know, so when I was a child, this place was based on small businesses. And everyone filled their niche and everyone had their needs met. Everyone had, you again, everyone had their needs met by all of the businesses that were there. You did whatever you were naturally inclined to do. You took care of the community by fulfilling your service, you know, and then in exchange, you know, the community came to you and bought goods or services.